Welcome. And I'm with Steve, who is a postman and street graffiti artist. What do you call yourself?
Bit of both. Yeah,
bit of both.
Bit of both. Legal artist.
Legal.
I don't get chased by the police anymore.
A legal street artist.
Yeah, graffiti
legal
street artist. Yeah.
So we're here to hear Steve's TM story and how TM relates to his work, both professionally and artistically. Yeah. So I find the best way, for me at least, in terms of the questioning, is to start from the beginning.
Right.
So how long have you been doing Transcendental Meditation?
Since about 2016, I think it was. So that's about 7 years.
7 years?
Yeah.
And you learnt here in London?
I did, yes.
Okay,
yes.
Who was your teacher?
Scott down at Victoria, Pimlico.
James Scott.
James Scott.
James Scott.
Sorry, James. Yes, James Scott. Lovely fella. Yeah.
So you've been meditating 7 years.
Yes.
And what brought you to TM? How did you hear about it, and why were you interested?
Right. Well, I'd come out of an awful relationship, and I was rock bottom. I really was. I was drinking a lot. I was doing quite a bit of cocaine. And really, I was in a bit of a bad way. I mean, to the point where my family, my sons, would be like, sort of telling me they're really concerned about me. And I came out of this relationship, and I was all over the place. I really was, and I was just looking for. I suppose I've always been looking for something else, like something just, something spiritual, something. But yeah, I was watching a David Lynch film, and at the end of the film, there was just this small part about TM, and I was TM. I've heard about this stuff.
At the end of the film?
Yeah, at the end of the film. Like, there was the film played, and then there was like a separate little video of David Lynch talking about his experiences with TM, and so I just googled it, and checked it out, and found out there was I could have a chat with someone in London about it. So yeah, that was it. I was on my way. I went and met James Scott. Yeah, we did it, and it was really something. It really was. I mean, when I first met James, it was in this. It didn't feel very spiritual in the slightest. There was this weird sort of school, and it was almost like it was in this office type sort of classroom thing, and I wasn't really sure what I was going to get out of this, to be honest.
Well, did you think there should have been angels and unicorns?
And a nice chapel or something or some. I don't know.
And he didn't have an aura or anything?
No, I didn't really
aura?
see that, not in the slightest.
Oh, no.
It's just a really lovely,
what a
softly
disappointment.
spoken bloke. Really lovely fella. But I'm not, honestly, I actually floated away from that. I remember leaving the building, and I just had to sit down in a park. I really felt like I gravitated towards some sort of. I just wanted to sit amongst nature. It sounds really corny, I know, but I sat in a park just behind lovely little flower beds. They were just behind Tate Britain, and I sat there for a good hour and just really sort of just took in what this experience was, and because I had to bring some flowers for the actual ceremony and so on, and it was really something. It was really quite profound. It really was.
So it was pretty black and white.
Oh yeah, it literally was. Yeah, it literally.
1 minute you go in a bit down.
Yeah.
And you come out floating on clouds.
And I've got a tool, and I've actually got a tool now. I've got something I can. It doesn't matter where I am. I can sit down for 20 minutes, and I can and I've got something, and it was and that I'll always remember that moment. I'll always that was really quite a.
So you got a really dramatic experience on that first day.
Profound, yeah.
How did it go from there on?
Well, I suppose for a while every time I meditated, I was looking for that. I was looking to appear in a flower bed, so to speak, and I was chasing this transcendence for quite some time, and to no avail, really. When I knew it was a great tool, nevertheless, but I still, and I think just in time, as I just look back on how how I go about life now compared to what I did prior to getting into TM, that I realised that it's made a massive difference, and I don't have to be sort of floating about in a flower bed to actually acknowledge that sort of thing. But yeah, even my kids, my sons, they were the first to say, "Well, Dad." Yeah, and I told them all about TM and so on, and said like, I meditate now, and obviously you get the meditating. What? That meditate? You get that sort of thing, and but yeah, they said they saw a massive difference in me, and everyone did.
What can you pinpoint specifically what the changes were? So it sounds like the whatever did happen in the past 7 years has been, after the first initial dramatic, has been fairly gradual.
Yeah.
What can you specify? Are you able to specify what changes have happened?
Yeah, I mean, well, I can generally gauge from other people's. My sons told me for a start. My oldest said that you're so much more patient. You're so much more, and I was just to fly off the hook a bit and sort of, I was never aggressive, but I was never an absolute raging, But yeah, I'm so much more calmer now, so much more sort of, if there's an argument and so on, I'm sort of tend to be the voice of reason in the family now, and much more chilled overall, really. Just and plus, I mean, with the creative side of my life, that really almost exploded. It was just really love it now. I sort of was always, I can do artwork, but I'm not really, that engaged, to be honest. I didn't really give it much time, but that's all I think about now is painting my next painting, to be honest. So with that, it's a two-way thing. It's just opened up my art, the more arty side of my life, which in turn has just, it's given me given me a new lease of life, really, which calms in as well. So
And so you're a postman?
Yes.
And presumably you have to get up early in the morning?
I do, yeah, I do.
When do you meditate?
Right, that's the bug. I've got this brilliant little in my office. There's it's a really strange building, but this tiny little nook was hidden around by the cloakroom, and it's just absolutely silent. It's great, and I get that in sort of my first 20 minutes in, just before I have I have a 40-minute break, and I'd like that 20 minutes just before I have my break, and and
does anyone know you do it, or is it
I think
very top secret?
No, I think I treated it as such. I treated it as like, I don't want to, I don't mind a bit of ribbing and so on. I don't mind that at all. But no, I think I'm sure there's been a few times I've been meditating, I've felt this, someone sort of walk in and walk back out again. Okay, he's having a moment, I'll leave him to it. That sort of thing. But generally speaking, I've got the perfect little spot in my office, and it's just
So your morning one's at work, and do you do a second one in the day?
Yeah, I do a second one when I get back.
Back home?
When I get back home.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you find it easy to have a regular practice?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I've got a nice little routine down, and it's really I remember when I first was meditating, I had to have absolute silence, and I didn't want to be. And now I just accept I used to have headphones on, noise cancelling headphones every time. I didn't want to hear a pin drop, and now I just I think a bit more sort of a bit more hardy, and I can just go, okay, the outside world's doing its thing, and I can just I can do that. So. Yeah.
And what's the experience of meditating like? Can you describe a meditation? What does it feel like?
Yeah, for me, it's I think it's progressed to the point where now I used to kind of struggle to settle. I settle really quickly now. Really, within 2 minutes or so, I'm there, and I'm just comfortable. And I think that's what it is comfort. I accept the sort of the monkey mind sometimes, chatter and so on, and I accept that, and I know each meditation is sort of different, tends to be different, but they all are becoming, there is there does tend to be, I don't know, it's much more of a consistent sort of just at ease and a comfort these days.
Nice. So your work, or your not your work, Postman, your work, but your art. What do you call yourself, strictly speaking?
Oh right, yeah. Well, I've got a graffiti background, a graffiti street art background. I've always loved drawing and so on. So yeah, I call myself an artist before I say street artist and so on. Yeah.
And what kind of art do you do?
Well, I love painting. I do love painting murals. Yeah, when I was a kid, I was a bit of a tearaway, and I used to tag everything that moved. My name was all over London and that sort of thing. Got arrested a couple of times and sort of like was, whoa, this is a bit too, so I stopped. But with TM and realising that there are legal places in London to paint, it's just given me a new lease of life. But at the same time, I think you have to have a certain confidence to take your cans up to a load of spray cans up to a wall and paint there in front of the public, because people come and ask you questions. There are graffiti street artists, and so I think I've got I sort of tiptoed back out into it, so to speak. But I did have, I don't know, I think through TM I had this urge to I just want my stuff to be seen. I mean, I wasn't painting for galleries or anything like that, so that was my way of just getting my work out there for the public to see and so on. And I've been doing it for about 6.5 years or so now, and I've got a bit of a reputation now. People really enjoy what I do. I get a lot of positive feedback, and it's really lovely. It's really nice to be appreciated in this area.
Is that, do you get that when you're doing your,
a bit of both,
like,
really? Yeah,
in situ, as it were?
Yeah. I mean, if we paint in Leek Street in Waterloo, there's a lot of tourism there, and it's lovely. It's like you've got people coming up from all over the world saying, wow, what's the situation here? How long have you been painting? What are you painting? And can my kids take photos alongside you? That kind of thing. So it's nice. It's a nice interaction. It's almost like a bit of theatre, so to speak, as you're painting.
Is that the street that you have to go around the back of the station? It's kind of underground. It's very long. It's almost like a tunnel, but it's a road.
Leek Street Tunnel. Yeah, that's the one.
Ah,
yeah.
I went to a play there, because there's a big. Is there a theatre kind of complex?
Yeah. There's a few bars along there. There's a place where they tend to have exhibitions. And
I went to a play.
Stuff, yeah.
It felt like this is really a cool place.
It's pretty special down there.
And do you sell your work?
I've sold a few paintings, a few canvases. I sell prints, but yeah, that's the thing. I'm doing a lot more work on canvases rather than painting walls. I'm trying to and setting up an exhibition in the not too distant future. But I also do a lot of workshops with children as well. Paint murals in schools and that sort of thing. And for some reason, bar mitzvahs seems to be quite... I've worked a lot of bar mitzvahs lately, just spray painting kids' names on T-shirts. And it's absolutely bonkers when you've got like 50 kids saying, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. And you're in this club sort of spray painting their names on T-shirts.
So you got 50 T-shirts to spray paint an individual name on each one?
Yeah, literally, yeah.
Did the kid want to do it themselves?
Sometimes they do. Sometimes they just grab the can and start spraying their mate in the face or that sort of thing. You're like, no, stop. But yeah, I do. I'm signed up with a company called Red Panda, and they do all sorts of entertainment, and I tend to just go on mad painting sprees with about 30 kids. And yeah, it's absolutely bonkers.
It sounds amazing.
Yeah, but,
sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And what about the kind of thing that you paint? Like if you're doing Leek Street or if you're doing your canvases, what's the like this morning I was interviewing this other lady, Sarah, and she does lips.
Right.
So. And she talked about why she does lips, because she feels the mouth is very significant. So, do you have a thing, or what's your thing?
I do. It's taken a while to sort of come together, but I tend to try and paint a mantra in a weird sort of way. I repeat a word over and over, so it becomes almost like an abstract pattern. And I've got this. I've designed this typeface sort of thing. And it's sort of based on like 1920s style art nouveau, art deco type style. And yeah, I love it. I'm really absorbed with this, and I just repeat the same word. Generally, love. I like just repeat it right over the canvas, and it really, it's just to the point where it's almost abstract. And I mean, most of the guys I know I do graffiti with, they haven't got a clue what I'm, because they do their name and they do like, you know, these cool hip hop characters and stuff like that, and I'm doing this. It almost looks like sort of Vedic sort of style writings.
Like Sanskrit.
Yeah, Sanskrit. Yeah, it's almost like that. But yeah, that's what I like. I do like abstract, and I'm sort of moving more in that direction.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Like it's like almost like in meditation where you think the mantra and then it disappears.
That's exactly it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I mean, I've done a few paintings where I was trying to explore how it feels. Just actually transcending and actually going into yourself and so on. And I've done a few paintings along those lines, sort of leaving all the rubble of all the stuff you think about on a day-to-day basis and just going into that point. And they were based on some of the diagrams what David Lynch has drawn. He's drawn like these triangles and stuff.
Where you dive down to the bottom of the sea.
Yeah, and I sort of based on that, and I even went so far as to get a tattoo sort of along those lines. Sort of things.
What's the red bit?
Oh,
or is that just
that's a mosquito?
A mosquito bite. I was going to say, that was a good location there.
It was right there, the bugger, it hit me right there, yeah.
I thought that was the bit where you transcend and everything disappears. You know, there's an explosion of infinity.
I don't know if that mosquito actually got that sort of feeling.
It'll probably stay there.
Yeah.
It's a permanent mosquito bite. That's so weird. Okay, what else? Anything else we can talk about? Have you recommended TM to any friends or family?
Yes, I have. My mum was, she was struggling for a couple of years. There was like some sort of family, not was that feud, but there was a big falling out, and she really took it like on herself, like it was her fault when it wasn't. And I introduced her to TM, and it just was it was a breath of fresh air for her.
Wow.
It really was, and I'd recommend it to anyone. After seeing what it'd done for my mum was just really...
That's amazing.
Yeah, she was on antidepressants before she discovered TM. She's not on them now, so...
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And does she still do it?
Yeah, she does. She doesn't do it as much. But she do it once every couple of days or so, but yeah.
Good for her. Good for you.
Yeah, I couldn't believe.
Who taught her? James Scott.
I'm not sure. It might well have been. It might well have been Mr. Scott. I'm not sure.
Goodo. Anything else you feel would be interesting for people to hear about your experience, or?
I just think more people need to know about this.
Yeah.
I mean, it needs to be just compulsory in primary schools. It should be, or secondary schools or whatever. But yeah, it definitely needs to. Yeah.
Okay.
To anyone.
Good. Do you think you've transcended?
Wow, I was chasing that transcendence for the first 2 years. It was almost frustrating because it's like, am I there? I'm enjoying this thing, but have I transcended? Oh God. I like to think not. I like to treat it like a carrot. Yeah, I like to treat it like a carrot, and I might have just touched the surface, but I haven't transcended just yet.
But you love the meditation itself.
Very much so.
Yeah. Good. Okay. I think that's it.
Right.
I think we're done. I think that's all good. Everything was working. I hope.
Have you transcended, Mark?
I would bounce that back and say, well, what do we mean by transcending? And technically, because it can be misunderstood, I would define transcending as when you're you don't even need to be meditating, but it's when your mind is quiet. So you're still awake, but your mind is quiet. There's no thinking going on.
Right.
And it's a weird one because you don't really know it's happened you only know it if it's different. So, it's like when people first learn to meditate, there's the contrast. It's like, oh my, there's this new thing, and it's, for me, it was very radically different. So transcending wasn't really, that sort of specific state of no thought, no mantra, was not really a thing. I wasn't. It's like, so what?
Yeah.
I'm more interested in the overall feeling of meditating, which I loved, and how that affects my life in general. I'm not so bothered about specific experiences because they tend to come and go.
Yeah. I mean, that's what
So, it's not such a thing for me.
Yeah.
But some people say, oh my God, it was like, unicorns and everything, a really big deal.
Right.
I never really had that.
Yeah. It's funny. So, I mean, I knew I was onto a good thing because I could feel a difference in myself, sort of in just the way I was in life. I knew this was working, this tool was great, but I was constantly chasing this.
Like the Holy Grail.
Like this something. I mean, I when I get to the point where I can't even remember if I'm, using the mantra or whatever, I come out of, was I asleep then? Was I, so it's like you say, it's, I really don't know if I've transcended.
Yeah, no, I remember, when I was doing my monastic thing, at least at the beginning, after we'd been meditating, and everyone would go, oh, did you have a good meditation? Because you're just talking. And I was like, I don't know, what's a good meditation? I liked it. I don't know if it was good. I did it. Yeah, compared to what? I mean, how do you define what good is? Because I was just liking meditating. Yeah, I don't know what good is. So I was like, I think so. I liked it. Yeah. Okay, I think we're done.
Brilliant. How was I? Was it all right?
I think it was pretty awful. No, it's great. Can we do it all over again? No, promise you, no, we're not going to do that.